If you disabuse yourself of hate, then you would know that African sexuality has always been diverse. What the Global Village has done through the internet is simply to unveil this for us. You don't want to miss the interesting conversations on demystifying the African Sexuality podcast. The DAS Podcast.
Welcome to part 3 of our episode 5 of the DAS podcast. I am Black Pepper, and right here with me is Banner and Andrew, and today we're still talking about exploring the complexities of vigilantism, blackmail, and sexuality criminalization. Now, let's get into the discussion. Welcome, Banner. Welcome, Andrew. So, conversion therapy. Let's talk about conversion therapy. How does it work? And is it a form of vigilantism? And somebody out there who doesn't know, probably let them know what conversion therapy means.
Okay, hi, this is Banner. So, conversion therapy is a form of is a way people use to try and change someone's gender or sexuality or sexual orientation. And how it links to vigilantism is in such a way that with the laws and the situation in Uganda, religious leaders or religious people are empowered. They feel empowered to use conversion therapy as a way of entrapping queer people, whether these people belong to their congregation, whether these people belong to their faith, but they use it as a way to keep them in their circles. And it's also kind of financial. It has financial benefit because that therapy is not free. Therapy requires you attending church, requires you paying people money, counselors and all those things. Counselors is in courts, yeah. But the dangers of conversion therapy leads to death. Not just physical death, but death of the soul, death of expression, death of the person's core being, because someone is trying to superimpose something onto you as an individual, and that is what leads to death. But it is quite sad that in Uganda it's now a profitable thing, because if religious leaders are doing conversion therapy, then one of the main aims is financial. I mean, no one is going to claim to turn people straight per se without a financial incentive, without saying that you have to pay me to do this. So, and I think with anything that is financial and anything that involves religious leaders, it involves abuse, and that abuse could be in form of blackmail, in form of extortion, and even in form of just basic how do I call it, basic abuse, like abusing you as an individual, like that. There is that emotional and spiritual and physical abuse that comes with conversion therapy.
Yeah, as Banner said, conversion therapy is trying to change someone. Many people give conversion therapies even without knowing. You walk into a space and someone tries to tell you this is bad. Why don't you change? Why don't you try to do this? Parents give their children conversion therapies. Nebabatega oba some parents nebatega abana babwe bebalaba nga they have different sexualities, nebabatega oba nebaleta omukozi omupye waka, then they try to trick you into having sex with them, hoping that maybe when you start having sex with them you will change. Then others take efforts even to take their children to pastors in churches and try to change them. Others even take them to police stations, consult doctors to try to make sure that they convert, they stop being what they are to what they are expected to be. With the efforts that the parents have done to turn their children, it has exposed them to a lot of exploitation. Pastors have exploited them. But even community members have exploited them in the name of helping them. And at the end of the day, no change actually is brought about. The only change is the negative change that comes out of this. For example, someone can be taken to a pastor, and as the pastor tries to convert these ones, they exploit them. They expose them to information that is not supposed to be exposed to kids. Like, there is a friend of mine who narrated to me a story. Like, he was taken to a pastor when he was in form 2. He was taken to a pastor by a suspecting auntie that he could be queer, and he was taken to one prominent pastor around Kampala to help the kid convert. But what happened there, in the sessions of conversion, the pastor was showing this child, who a form 2 child, probably that is usually around 15-16 years of age. Pastor was exposing this kid to pornography material, trying to show this kid how queer persons, LGBTQ persons, gay people have anal sex, and is opening up a mindset to this person that being LGBTQ or being gay is all about having sex. That is one way of teaching the kid how to practice sex. Yes, they are grooming kids in terms of converting them, and at the end of the day, the pastor left the room, and then the kid to the pastor, pastor's child, came in the room and started sexually abusing this kid. Probably the pastor had failed on his own kids, and he would bring these children for conversion at his home, and the kids would easily identify with these ones who are brought at home, and they would take advantage of them, because what parents do is they trust pastors more, or they trust doctors more, they trust those counselors more, and to this extent that the parent of this one took the kid to the home of this pastor, and this person was staying there, so they had time to learn whatever they would learn. And in the conversion where you've taken the kid for they come back even more experienced in sex as compared to when they went there when they were just having a feeling, like, you know what. So they come back when they can even do sex. They think even they should do sex as that early. You get it? So I think pastors have done a great role in exposing kids to nudity and pornography in the sense of trying to convert them.
And you've reminded me of something. I think it was when the first bill was being passed. There is a famous pastor in Kampala who woke up and called journalists and called people and decided to show gay porn in his church, and he was saying, "Oh, this is what they do," and there were children and there were women and and that is a form of sexual abuse. But by that, like showing people non-consensual sex acts is a form of abuse.
And you know, during that period, like someone came to me and told me, like, not during that period, but after that period, like around 4 years passed, someone came to me and told me, do you know how I came to learn about these things, like homosexuality, how we can have sex? I learned it from pastor. Pastor was showing us from church. Pastor was exposing us from that. You know what? The content of sex and what, that's not what makes people queer. People feel it already. But then exposing them, even those ones who didn't want to have sex, young people they want to learn new things. And you expose them to that, they instead go for it.
Yeah, I went through conversion therapy at a certain church in Kampala. I think when I was I was 14, I think. So like during the holidays, they would my people knew, and so they decided to take me to that church. It was like a sort of camp setting, but it was a church that had people coming through like the whole day. They had prayers every single day. But ideally, I was taken there. The thinking behind taking me there was you're supposed to go to church and to distract yourself from these thoughts of boys or these thoughts of homosexuality. So I would go there, but it's so weird. You would go there and then you meet other people who are in this same mix as you, other queer people. And the older ones, there's some I met who are quite older than me, I think, because by then I was in senior 2, so there were some that I met who were in senior 5, senior 6. The older ones often used to like call you, and then they'd be like, they would ask you, have you ever had this kind of sex? Have you ever tried this position? What are you doing here? If you should try it to really know that you're gay. I feel like it was first of all a culture shock, because by the time my people sent me there, I had never ever been in a relationship with a boy or with a queer person.
They just saw you being,
yes, they just saw me
behaving,
and maybe there was a weird scandal at school. There was a weird scandal at school at that time that I was dating someone, so they got to hear of it and they were like, but I'd never had sex. I'd never even known like what being gay means or having gay sex means. And then after that scandal, they took me to a certain hospital in, I think it's in Zambia somewhere there, for annual examination. And I was so scared. I was so shocked. I was like, in their heart of hearts, they believed that I had sex at that young age of mine, and they were going to verify that I had sex. It was so now that I think of it, it's so, I feel like it is so invasive and abusive, but also it's so sexualized. Like Andrew has mentioned, it is very, very sexualized. I mean, you mean if a boy has a crush on a girl, in let me say in primary, we have our young siblings, when they say they have a crush on a girl in class, is the first thing you think about how they are going to have sex with that girl? I don't think so.
Yeah, and very many queer persons usually have feelings when they are still very young, and it's not all about that. It's not all about what they're going to do, but they exhaust. I find it a form of vigilantism. Yes, it is really vigilantism, because a society comes together and infringe on your peace. They try to lower your self-efficacy, self-esteem. They monitor you. Yes, they pull you down, and to such extent that you cannot believe in yourself. You cannot do anything like anyone else. So they put you down. You will not function like any other person. You will always see yourself as someone who has something missing.
And you're always looking over your shoulder, saying, am I doing, what I'm doing gay? Is what I'm doing where I'm going? Am I walking the right way? Am I speaking the right way? Am I, my friends, there is always that fear of like the society trying to, like, because when Andrew talks about vigilantism, it is
It's like
now you're now in a police state. Yeah, it's like you're always someone is always going to be like you're never safe and comfortable where you're seated or where you are, because you feel like something is wrong with you, so you're always trying to change what is wrong with you. You're conscious of what's wrong with you. You're conscious of the way you smile, you're conscious of the clothes you put on, you're conscious of your hair, you're conscious of, and those are things that are very easy to blackmail someone with, because they will say, we saw you with so and so. They look gay if they are not gay. Then your heart starts boom, 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 boom. We saw you with you walk like a girl. You walk too much like a girl. Then they are like, what?
So you keep monitoring yourself all the time, and you feel unworthy, and that is not a good state. If you are a parent and you're putting your child in such a state, don't expect yourself to have a good relationship with your child. Every time your child is going to be hiding stuff from you, trying to make sure that what you see is what pleases you and not the reality. And at the end of it all, Mujashira.
Yeah, all right.
You don't want to miss the interesting conversations on Demystifying the African Sexuality podcast. The DAS Podcast.